Thank you so much for coming on the BYOB Build Your Own Business podcast.
Of course.
And thank you for hosting at this awesome office.
Yeah.
Why don't you take? Yeah, good. Why don't you take the next 60 seconds? Tell me what you've been up to most recently, and maybe how you're handling everything with the COVID and shutdowns like that.
Sure. So what I've been working on most recently is really scaling my business, and this is something that I have been helping other people with for a while, but we can easily fall into this trap of not doing for ourselves what we do for our clients. And after helping other people with these models, I said, okay, now is the time. I've seen enough different ways to do this. And what it really came from is I love impact and I love doing business on purpose. And I wanted to help more people do that. And I know that the way that I operate, I love, diving in deep with people, spending tons of time with them, but that's not an option for everyone because there's a price tag attached to that. Right. And so that was my limiting factor. So I thought, well, how can I do this with more people? I've done this for enough years. I have a model that I know that I can put out there and, and have people not have to have me sit there the whole time. And so that's my group coaching program.
Awesome. And do you have anything that's going on with COVID, right? I wanted to touch upon that, but I want to dig into that group program as well.
Sure.
So are you doing anything differently now? I mean, your business, she's a business coach, so she can do things on Zoom and Skype and everything like that. But has there been any challenges for you?
Sure. The initial challenge of, oh shit, can I swear?
Oh yeah, swear as much as you want, please do.
What is going to happen?
Yep.
It's either going to be really bad or it's going to be okay. And I think I just held my breath for a day.
Yeah.
And then I realized, no, I've got to create whatever outcome this is. And I know I just doubled down on a few things that I knew worked as far as lead generation.
Okay.
And I really have a relationship-based business, mostly because I've built a ton of relationships. And I kept with that model and circled back to people who already I had thought about working with me or had in the past, and I made sure that I was going to make it through COVID. And actually I collected more revenue in those 2 months than I had the previous 6 months.
That's awesome. So it's almost I'm finding that with everyone I talk to is that they turn it into an opportunity somehow. My only concern is you're a business coach and you were possibly worried about businesses going out of business that you were working with.
And so it's really interesting. I used this as an opportunity to reach out and survey anyone that I had worked with.
That's awesome.
And I wanted information. I wanted to know where they were at and what would be most helpful in that moment. Instead of guessing, instead of saying, hey, here's what I think would be most helpful, or gosh, here's what I'm struggling with. But I am not my client. They have a different business model, they're different people, they have different struggles. And so instead of guessing, I just got the information and synthesized it down into what could really help people. And I thought it was going to be more immediate stuff how do I stay in front of my customers? How do I pivot my entire business model to be virtual or whatever? But it wasn't that. It was more longer term. 6 months out, people were worried about the leads drying up. Or, people running out of money then 6 months down the road. And then how do you shift your offerings to then meet the customer with what they need there? So but what I found was, okay, I don't need to put out these crisis services. I don't need to say everything's on fire, I can help. But I thought that's what I should do.
Right, that's what I was saying.
That's what everybody else was doing.
Right.
If you remember back to your inbox in the late March, early April, it was so this free workshop, this free everything, this free yoga class to try and help people.
That's so true.
Right?
That's what all my clients did too.
Right.
It was how can I go to free? So what did you do that was different? Because maybe I could mention that to my clients that they're still trying to think of ways to do free things when maybe they should be doubling down on what's already worked in the past.
Yeah. Well, when everybody goes right, go left.
Cool. That's so funny. I was doing that for some of my clients, a free yoga class or free. We were doing giveaways for free gift cards to support other local businesses, which I think is a great idea. Still,
there's nothing wrong with doing free.
But I think it is the manner of doing it. I think.
I think everyone was stressed out, freaked out, and saw everybody else doing something for free. And they did it too. But what happened was you had a super crowded space. attention was so divided.
Yeah.
You know, you were definitely not converting those people into paying customers.
Yeah, they were too
maybe.
worried about.
I mean,
yeah.
but overall,
You're
like, you know, as small businesses, I don't think they were seeing big conversions on that.
No.
And that's okay. You can do things that don't necessarily need to have big conversions. But if business is on fire and you do need to make money, like, I don't think doing what everyone else is doing is the answer.
Oh, I love that. Just because you already mentioned it, I want to talk about this group thing. So you're saying that before, not everyone had access to you because either it was financial, obstacle. You're saying this is your way of going around it, or you tell me more about?
Sure, totally.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's, beyond price, there is value in being with a group. So you work for yourself, like, it can be lonely.
Absolutely.
And a lot of entrepreneurs I work with have that experience. Not so much that they're alone, but it's lonely to experience the weight of having to make your business, profitable every day, to pay employees or pay your own, rent or whatever. And it can be lonely to sit with these big decisions and try to come up with strategy. Like, it's really difficult to just do that with one person. And I find it really valuable to have a collective set of well-vetted other heads to think and talk with. And so the nature of group coaching can be really beneficial, number one, for the network.
I think that's the biggest one in my head.
Right.
For me, thinking about joining is like, these guys, they got to have something that I don't,
Right, exactly. Whether it's like a connection or just a different way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite moments in one of the groups that I've run, because I run it every year, and each year, obviously, I think it gets better and better because my system gets tighter and tighter and more effective. But about a few years ago, there was a person who had been in business for like 30 years, and there was someone who was brand new, and she gave him like such a great piece of feedback, totally different industries. And it created like that really nice silence. Like, everyone was really thinking about what she just said and couldn't believe it. That it was actually the best advice.
Yeah.
And he had never thought of that. And I mean, I wish I could say I gave him the great advice, but it was so cool how someone who was just green and from a different industry provided the perspective that he couldn't see for himself.
Do you remember what it was by any chance?
It was about seeing an offering. So this person was in construction, and he just saw himself as like that one service, like, oh, I build this thing. Right. And she talked about like how to upsell himself.
Interesting.
To offer like a kind of like maintenance type service to kind of keep like a almost subscription type model.
That's brilliant.
Right? Because nobody is doing that in that industry. And so I wish the details are kind of beyond me right now, but I remember thinking like, wow, yes, like great way to borrow from what other people are doing everywhere else and make it work for you. And
that's awesome.
Right, and if you're the only person offering that in your industry, that alone is going to make you stand out.
That's going to be huge.
People are going to know you're different, you think differently, you look at opportunity differently. Definitely. And that speaks a lot about who you are in your business, just for people seeing that.
Okay, so let's talk about the group a little bit. I want to know, obviously you said that it could be someone who started yesterday, or people who have been in business for 20 years. Yeah. Is there a right person for this? Is it someone who is looking to scale? Is it someone who's looking to find systems for their business at this moment? What's the right person in business to come and join this group?
So there tends to be this kind of inflection point for a person where whether it's 5 years in, 20 years in, or like 5 days in, where they realize their old way of thinking about business is not going to take them to the next level. Some people find this out quickly, like, oh wow, I thought this was going to be the way, but I don't really know the way I'm realizing,
Right.
Or I've been doing business this way, but I've really I've plateaued. I don't know how to, grow, make more money, or make it more profitable. Not everyone is like trying to create this like massive empire. Yeah. But really about making your business work for you and your lifestyle, not the other way around. So whatever that looks like for you. Absolutely. You don't have to have like $1 million goal to like get a business coach. Right. You just have to figure out, and a business coach can help you figure out what you're looking to do and how to get there. So I find that most people who join the group are at this inflection point of trying to figure out, what do I need to do differently? How do I need to see things differently, approach things differently in order to create the results that I'm looking for?
Right. So, I mean, the reason I was looking out for a coach is I'm thinking I value time a whole lot more than I value money for the most part. And if I can save myself 10 years of business learning by trial and error and doing it in a year or 6 months or like it makes no sense for me to do the 10 years. I like the money that I'd make in the time afterwards would pay for it itself.
Right.
You know, tenfold.
Completely.
So it's someone who you think they know that they could do it. Right. But this could be the faster. Would you agree with that? This is the shortcut.
Yes, very much like the shortcut. Like, awesome. You know, here's this faster way to do it. You can do it, and you can learn all the lessons along the way, and maybe like write a book on like all those long lessons you learned, right? But there is value in shortcutting that or bypassing some of the kind of like unnecessary hardships, right? Like because there is real value in like lessons learned, but some of those you don't need, and you can just get the value from them and get the lesson another way. So now I think there's a value in like the emotional aspect of all this, and you can definitely speak to this. We can talk about your background in a second, but there's days where I just want to sit in bed and cry. I don't do it, but like it's okay.
But
you can
really,
share that you did.
No, I did. I haven't, not yet. I'm sure that day will come. But I'm broken down and saying my business is going to fall apart or I want to quit. I could just go back and, wait tables. I could, whatever. I could support my family this way and maybe not feel as fulfilled, but I won't be as stressed out. You know what I mean? I think seeing that people who are, in your eyes, successful, especially in a group setting, that are going through that as well, still to this day, is beneficial. And then having someone maybe like you who knows a way of working through that better than, grabbing a whiskey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, healthier coping, for sure. So just to normalize that experience, I have millionaires that I work with that have that exact same experience. Right. So the good news is that that's normal. The bad news is that it doesn't end. Right. If you're doing it right, it doesn't end, because what happens is you reach the next level, and then you reach the next level. So is it a good sign? It's a good sign because you're engaged and you are riding out the valley. So it's like people think success is linear like this, but it's like this, right? And so when you're in a down wave, right, a valley, like you're there and you're going to ride it out. If you're in it, if you have those days where you want to cry, you're riding it out. Right. Like the opposite of love and passion is not hate, it's apathy. So the fact that you give a shit, like, is you having that hard day and wanting to cry and break down and quit, because it is pushing you literally to your edge. Like you are beyond your comfort zone right now. And that is what growth is. Right. So you're literally like in that painful moment, those are the growing pains. Yeah, and this is huge for me. I'm taking in all this stuff too. Like this is great information. It's probably someone liking it or something. Cool. But so I want to go in. Why would someone go and hire a business coach one-on-one? I know we're talking a lot about the group, but I would like, who's going to go and reach out to you? Or why should... Why? So who's my idea? Like, who are the people who do? Like, what would a business owner, what would be going in through their head so they're going to pick up the phone and call or something? Yeah. So I have found that, people reach out to me because they usually saw something that I put out. So either a line that I said like really resonated with them, or they know that, and this is actually really, really great awareness, they know that they need something else to get to that next level, whatever that means for them. With me.
But anyways, yeah.
So yeah, it's really valuable to even know that you don't know, right? Because then you stop like doing this internal of like, why don't I know? Why am I not smart enough? Like, you know, Elon Musk probably knows. Instead of doing that like internal judging, you just focus on solving the problem. And so having that awareness is really good. And either you reach out or you ask your friends who maybe are a few years ahead of you, how they, you know, got to that place. And that's usually how people find me. They're either in that down valley, like you talked about, crying in bed. Or they realize there's an element to this that they can't solve themselves.
Okay, awesome. What are some areas of business that, or a person, like an area of a person that makes any sense, that working with you would benefit? Let me rephrase that. What are some areas of a business that you work on with every client?
One of my favorites is money.
Okay.
Because a lot of people hate their financials.
Can you just, like, how would you go about dealing with that?
So I first ask a few questions to try to understand how familiar they are with their financial situation.
Yep.
I have some people who have no clue, and I think that they like to have no clue, and that seems a little bit terrifying. But think about
I'm kind of that person.
But think about the money situation most Americans are in. You know, they don't have savings, they don't have a backup. Like, we avoid it because it feels better to like consume and like get that in the minute like gratification. Then like do the hard work of like looking at my bank account, looking at my statement. What are the bills I have ahead? How do I plan for this? Like, that's not sexy.
No,
it's way more sexy to tell your friends you got the latest iPhone.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
This is the trap we're all in. But it's the same exact thing for your business, right?
Yeah.
How can you make good decisions about investing in marketing, about investing in social media management, right? If you have no idea what your monthly revenue is, what your expenses are, what is your marketing budget for the year, what are you trying to create, right? What is the ROI you're looking for on that spend?
I can't tell you how many clients I go up to and I ask, like, what's your marketing budget? They have no idea.
They have no budget.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Like, I don't want to like turn a bunch of people off right now and be like, oh shit, I don't have one.
Right.
I better not call her. She's scary. Like,
okay,
But the point is that like, I will hold your hand and we'll open it together and like look at it and figure it out, because knowledge is power. Right? Without it, you can't make those decisions. But we can look at it together and start to build out what it could look like for you and how to will really manage it, because what gets measured gets managed. If you're not measuring your financials, then you have no idea if you're growing. You have no idea if you're on the path you're trying to get to. You have no idea if you're going to run out of cash flow in 2 months, right? But in order to make the correct decisions for your business, you need that information. So that's one angle of money, but my like secret favorite part about money is your personal money story.
Okay. What do you mean? I think I know what you mean, but I want you to answer the question.
So everybody has a relationship with money that is totally unique to them, right? And a lot of it is based on the values we were taught, based on the home we grew up in, based on how we saw our parents' relationship with money, how they talked about money, but yet what they did with money. And people don't even realize that was just your experience. Like, mine was totally different than yours, like in whatever ways. And we go out and we live that like belief that's like so deep in your brain, you're usually not conscious of like what your money story is, or what your model is, how you operate with money, or what your belief system is. Like, I believe like I will be wealthy, or I am wealthy, or I believe I can create whatever I want. Like, we don't have those like mantras that we.
Should people have those mantras?
Well, that's yes, because you need to have systems for creating what you want to create in your life. Right. Sometimes mantras work for people. Okay. Sometimes they don't work for other people. But what everybody needs is to understand the belief system around money that is driving their decisions every single day. This is for you, like, whether you never want to own a business or you've already owned one for 50 years. Like, you need to know what your relationship is with money, because it is definitely impacting the decisions you make every day. And the better understanding you have, the more you can work with it, right? The knowledge is power. The more you can work with it to transform it into helping you get where you want to get to.
Okay.
So if you have a belief system that I'm poor and, like, my parents didn't have money, I'll never have money, like, I don't know how to create wealth, and you want to buy a house, it's probably not going to happen because you don't believe, like, that you're good with money and that you'll get there.
Right.
So we gotta look at that stuff first and dive in and try to align that before we come up with, like, strategy to implement. You see what I mean?
Right.
Like,
no, it makes a ton of sense.
The belief system is behind everything. So I can give you, like, 3 tips and tactics, but it'll be completely meaningless if we don't explore what's really driving your behavior.
Right. I think this might be a good time to talk about your background.
Sure.
So, before becoming a business coach, what were you doing for, and then what was the turning point to decide to become a business coach, and what was that journey like? So it's a big, like, 3-part question.
Okay, I'll try to remember all of it. So I am a psychologist by training, and I knew early on, like in high school, I had a guidance counselor that, like, really changed my life. She helped me, not like I was, like, on a terrible path before, but she just helped me integrate, like, what I wanted to do, because I was such, like, an analytical person. That probably isn't that surprising. No. And she was like, no, like, it's cool to, like, have fun too and, like, explore things. And she just taught me some things about relationships, like silly high school things that were going on, and I was like, wow, like, that was really helpful. I want to help people like that. So I knew that I wanted to get into that field. Psychology is so fascinating. Like, it's endless. There's so many things we can learn. We don't even know, everything about the way our brains operate and function. There's so many little subspecialties in there. I could just read about it and talk about it all day long.
Right.
But what I realized is, so I went into private practice.
Okay.
And I realized that I am not the person to help everyone.
Okay.
In fact, that is why so many mental health counselors and whatnot experience burnout fairly early on, because it is a very taxing job. Like, you make yourself so emotionally available for other people hour after hour all week long, and, like, sometimes it feels like nothing is left, and that didn't feel good for me, because I have so much life I want to live, and I don't want to give my scraps to my family. Right? When I go home, I mean, now I'm a mom, but that didn't feel right to me. Like, why am I not going to give my best stuff to the people who are closest to me, who I want to build the best for? Not that I don't care about other people or my clients, but honestly, there wasn't much left for me. And that was the part that was the most troubling for me, is that, great, I built this thing that I always wanted to build. I built a private practice so fast. It's so profitable. This is awesome. But, oh my gosh, some days it didn't matter how much money I made, because I was just depleted. And I didn't see a way out of that. So then I started you're going to find I'm a data nerd. So I started measuring who I loved working with, who I wasn't excited about on my calendar. Yeah, I know this sounds like the beginnings of Facebook, like, hot or not. Like,
that's so funny. No, I'm just cracking up. This is good. Go on.
So, so I had this, like, little secret list of, like, oh, that's great. I get so energized when I work with this person. I like what they bring in. And I realized I love this kind of forward-thinking approach. So, while obviously I love personal stories and belief systems and whatnot, they are so integral in any kind of behavior work you do, whether you call it coaching or psychotherapy or anything else. But there is more to a person than their past. And the model of coaching really allowed me to incorporate the things that I knew impacted people, which are stories of the past, and help create direction moving forward, right? And so I found that those who had that vision for things being different in the future were people I loved working with. They were great at setting goals, at doing their like homework, doing the stuff we talked about, coming back with information and whatnot, and that allowed us to make it better and better going forward. Mm-hmm. And then I took a closer look at like the demographics of who I was working with and who fit those attributes that I just described.
Right.
And that's when I realized that it was entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And some key leaders in bigger organizations, not just entrepreneurs, but mostly entrepreneurs. And because there is this element of them that is not risk averse, right? You have to be willing to stomach some risk if you were going to quit your safe job and go do the uncomfortable thing, like crying in bed at night, right? Just to try to create your own business. So I love the fact that they weren't risk adverse, and that really, I think, challenge excited them. Mm-hmm. And that left me challenged as well in a really great way, that left me really engaged with my work, thinking about it afterwards, like how to do better, how, researching the best ways to motivate people and what behavior change efforts actually work and what's sustainable, right? And so I found I was really excited about work, and they were getting really great results. And so once you see a match like that, like you got to pay a lot of attention to it, and then you double down on it.
Okay, and that's what you did. So one of the questions people are told to ask business coaches all the time, like that's what I do before I go and hire someone. I'm like, what question should I ask these people? Is what kind of business did they run before? If they had experience running the business. And yours is the successful practice.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Scaling that and making it work. Because I had on the last episode, I had a yoga instructor and trying to figure out how to get people in. They teach you how to do all the yoga poses. They teach you how to, be all psychoanalytical and all this stuff. But then how do you get people to come and knock on your door? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I just forgot where I was going with this, but that was the business. Yeah, exactly. That was the business that you had before, and it was successful, right? So I think that's interesting. You can answer that question at least. And
and I have some other job history before I started my own practice. But yes, like my claim to fame is that I created a 6-figure business in 9 months.
That's huge.
And so I think it gives me a lot of credibility when I try to do the same or offer help to other people.
Definitely.
And I am a student too. Like I don't claim to know all of it. Mm-hmm. And that's why I don't say I'm a consultant, because I'm not an expert in one area, but yet I am an expert at helping you shape the way you see things to make you more effective at what you do. Right. So, I hope that shows that I have grit, that, that I am willing to try different things, right? That I'm not risk adverse myself, right? Because you gotta, in order to sit with someone like I do, you gotta really sit in the trench with them.
Right.
And I have to open myself up to be vulnerable too. Mm-hmm. It would be so awkward, right? If I was like, tell me your deepest, secrets and all this stuff. And I just sat there like a blank page, like, oh no, I don't have any of those either, But I try to make myself relatable. You know what? The first group I ever ran had one person sign up.
See? That's huge. I had someone, that yoga instructor came on yesterday, and she made this huge course, and she didn't make any sales off of her first week, which, you can do it. Don't worry. We'll figure out a way to get you the sales. Yeah. But when you spend all that time and launch date comes and you get one person or no one, it's humility right there. And you're becoming
humiliating. Right? Yeah. And if you can suck it up and keep going, right, then you learn from that lesson and having to establish that humility, right?
Right.
So the biggest mistake people make is think about all the hard work she already did, and so many people will give up. At that point. Yeah. So many people will give up.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So, this is just out of interest. I don't know how much time we're good on time. Perfect. Okay. Out of self-interest, you work with a lot of entrepreneurs. While we know everyone is an individual and they're their own special person,
yes.
Do you find patterns, especially being a data nerd, do you find patterns with every entrepreneur that maybe they're falling into the same traps as everyone else? or maybe not traps is not the right word.
Yeah. But patterns, there are so many patterns. And so that's why I think this is one thing that makes me different than other business coaches is I say everything is on the table. And another coach says it so well. She says, from the boardroom to the bedroom. And that's provocative. I like it, right? It's a laugh. But it's a really great way to say it because you take you everywhere. Mm-hmm. So if you have like crappy relationships and patterns in one area of your life, guess what? They are coming with you to work and to your business. Right. So it would be negligent for me to sit here and pretend like I'm going to help you with your strategy and your financials and to not talk about who you are in every other area of your life because you might, and this is so natural that you want to be perceived well. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, you're not going to come at me and tell me all the worst things about you at first. So we have to like go there in order for there to be a really full understanding of all the elements of your life, right? Because they are impacting you when you come to sit down and make a business decision or work on your business, write a blog for your business or make a customer phone call, try to pitch something, right? Like, all those things are there. And if you fail to call them out and integrate them into the work, then they will ultimately stop you somewhere. They will show up. They don't just go away. They will show up somewhere, some way. So I make a conscious effort to pull those things out from the get-go so that we know everything we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm. So I see how that can apply to absolutely anyone. But what about something more like how all entrepreneurs are risk averse? Mm-hmm. Is there something that we're all like great at or all really bad at? Like, are we all really bad at money? Or are we,
No. Well, one thing that I see is, and I just had a call with someone about this an hour ago, entrepreneurs are usually great visionaries.
Okay.
So when you were thinking about your business, you probably had this really awesome vision of like you running a team up there, like riding on the board.
I still got it on my head. Yeah.
Like, look, guys, this is what we're gonna do, and like you do this, and it like runs seamlessly, and your customers are like, thank you. Oh my God, you made all the difference, right? Yeah. The vision is awesome. The follow through can lack on the entrepreneurial end.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, because lots of times entrepreneurs are idea people and visionaries, and they might be on to the next idea or on to the next vision.
Yeah.
Right?
I have that issue all the time. It's we don't need any coaching session, but like I find that I'm getting 12 new ideas every day about how I'm going to get to that final vision. And I don't know how to put like, this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3. I'm like, okay, I got 12 new ideas, and then tomorrow another 12 are going to come, and I still didn't even order the 12 that came yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't write them all down.
Right.
Yeah. So that's another pattern, right, is when your brain operates that way, and it's like it's like 3 steps ahead, right? Mm-hmm. Like you sometimes don't take a breath, you don't slow down enough in order to get there. And a person who is a great coach that I know, he uses this euphemism of slow down to speed up. Mm-hmm. So anytime you feel your brain like doing that ramp up, like feels like you're just gonna lift off, right? Like slow down to speed up. So how in that moment can you reground yourself? Like I literally will do this with people in a session because lots of times they come in all wound up. It's like, okay, let's just take a minute, like put your feet on the floor, like put your hands in your lap, take a deep breath, and we'll literally do like 5 deep breaths. We'll do it for like a minute and just slow down. And like it changes the way they are holding themselves. Like then they are speaking more slowly, like more thoughtful. But that takes discipline. Like it took me sitting in front of them to be like, hey, stop.
Right. Like, an outside force.
You're kind of nuts right now. You're kind of like all wound up. Like, let's unwind you.
And our poor significant others that were going home to like that. Yesterday I got home, she's cooking dinner. I'm writing on the whiteboard in our office, and like 3-year-old's trying to come and talk to me. I'm just still in the zone.
Yeah.
But
Right, exactly. So, but that's it, right? Like, your significant other's cooking dinner, she's not really listening to you, but sometimes you need someone to really listen to you, right? Or you need someone to tell you, hey, stop. And your employee is not going to do that either because you're their boss, right? So that's why this coaching relationship is so unique for an entrepreneur, because I can be the person to say something to you that no one else can say. It's not safe enough for them.
Right.
Or they've got, or like your significant other has a different relationship with you than that, and they don't even want to be your business partner. That's like not a good idea. So it's a really unique situation where it allows you to really dive in and explore what's possible, yet at the same time stay accountable.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's see what else I got for you. Oh, so what separates a great business coach from maybe someone who's not as great or unqualified? Like, how does someone know?
That's a really great question. And I really feel for people out there trying to find a good business coach, because, my gosh, it can just run the gamut. And how do you know, right? I mean, you might be better suited to answer this question than me. Even the directories that are out there, I know they're trying to do a good job, but like it is still so difficult to tell. So there's a few things, I think. Proof of concept. So having done something in your own life as the coach that illustrates credibility. So like I tell people, I can help you build a business because I've built a business. While I haven't created every business, like there are things that cross over that I can help you with. Another thing, I just want everyone to know, like, coaching certifications are super easy to get.
That's what I figured.
They are. So everyone, kind of people look at that like, oh, well, should they have this? Like, please know that is not like the end all be all. What I would look for are other pieces of education that might qualify that person. So I don't know how people do this work without having a psychotherapy or like psychology background like I do. Because, well, there are so many great coaches out there that don't have this background, just first and foremost, to be fair. But you are managing such like complex human stuff, issues, right? Like from the bedroom to the boardroom, that I don't know how someone can carry that as a coach and reflect it back appropriately without having some kind of qualification or training.
Training's the right word to handle that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I mean, my gosh, I am so far from perfect, but I know how to sit with like some heavy stuff.
Right.
And how to be a vault for people, and that is not easy.
That's the other thing. Like, you want someone that's going to be confidential, and have some type of faith that they're actually going to keep to the word.
Yeah.
Is price important? And part of that question is, right, is there a reason why someone shouldn't purchase because that coach is too cheap? Or should they not go off? Is there a too expensive coach?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel different ways about that. I know that there are some great coaches that significantly undervalue themselves. Okay. So there are people out there who are great at what they do and undervalue themselves. I think there are...
I mean, the question for my audience should be, how do they find those undervalued? Right?
Yeah. Well, those people are going to be hard to find because they don't know how to do it, right? So, like, they don't know how to make themselves more successful in a way because they're not out there doing that work. Do you see what I mean?
It makes a lot of sense.
If you you were great at running your business, like, you might be great at helping people, but there might be gaps in how you manage your own business, and that's why they're undervalued, because they don't know how to create it and a way to charge more, but they might be really great at helping you. Right.
Or they might be so focused on someone else's business and not valuing their own, right?
Yes, totally.
Get it.
So it's really, actually, there's this unique value point that's going to be different for every person.
Okay.
So just like how like $10,000 to you might be different than how I think about $10,000.
Absolutely.
Right? So if $10,000 is a good price or not is totally dependent on the person.
Right.
I think it should be about value, right? So
absolutely.
What is that person telling you that they can create with that fee, right?
Exactly.
And it's it's a tough business because I can't give you a straight up guarantee. Like,
I have to do the work, or whoever your client has to do the work.
Right. And I have some clients who $10,000 means a lot, and they work so hard and they want extra work and they want every single thing I can give them and every like moment I will give them.
Right.
And I say good for them. Like, good for you for asking for every single thing I have.
Right.
I will tell you if it's over the top and too much.
Yeah.
But I do offer that. I say like, yeah, call me if you need something or whatever. And I'm proud of those people when they do. I have other people that $10,000 is like pocket change for them.
Right.
And they sometimes don't perform at the level that I know that they could, because it's not as meaningful.
Can you tell the story? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Which is interesting because I think this story was meaningful to you, right? Like it spoke about like something about me. So I had a client who had worked with for a while, and he was not doing the work that we had talked about as far as growing himself and who he is as a leader. And we were up for recontract, and I know he like barely even thinks about this stuff because he can just write the check and it's not a big deal.
Right.
I think he just likes like having our meetings and talking. And I said, you haven't been doing the work. Like, I'm not sure. I don't know if we should continue. I don't even know if this is like valuable to you.
Right.
And so what I did is I doubled the price. And it was really, really scary because it was easy money in a sense for me. Like, I already knew this person backwards and forwards. Like, I knew how to help them. I knew how to adapt myself to work with them. That was clearly valuable for him because he kept coming back, right? Never missed an appointment.
But you couldn't go in there and do the work.
But I didn't feel good about it.
Right.
One, because I'm not sure I was really moving the needle enough to make it like worth it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want my reputation out there as like, well, I don't really know if it works, right? Mm-hmm. So I needed to pull a lever to make him pay attention and make it meaningful for him. And so I chose the price lever. And I said, listen, like, this is the price now. You need to do the work. If you don't do the work, you're responsible for the remainder of the fees, and we'll pick, a charity to donate it to, the services that hadn't been used yet. Wow. And in the end, like, I had to fire him. Yeah. Because he okay, it's going to be different this time. We even set up a model for doing it differently.
That's integrity right there, and I love that.
That's one of my top values is integrity. And I have to have that as a value because there are so many times when, like, to say the thing that I actually need to say to someone is really uncomfortable. It'd be so much easier to just gloss over it and be like, yeah, forget that little thing, that weird thing they just said. But, or to illustrate, like, the conflict, right? Like, oh, you say you want this one thing, but here you are doing this thing over here. Right. Like, that is not super easy to say to the person who just wrote you, like, a 5-figure check. Mm-hmm. Right?
Or the week before they're about to write you another one.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That is a super scary time. But I found that when I show up, like, with that full integrity, when I keep my word and I do what I say I'm going to do, like, hey, you need to perform in this way or it's not going to work anymore. I wished instead I was telling you the story of how I was able to change his behavior and his outcomes and all those things. Right. But I wasn't, for whatever reason. And you know what? It would be the biggest mistake if I took that to mean something about me. Right. Because there's 100 other variables. Mm-hmm. And of course I'm reflecting on what I could have done differently. Of course I'm learning and trying to be better and all those things. And if this happened yesterday, I probably wouldn't feel good about sitting here and being able to tell you the story. But with enough reflection, I know that I kept to the things that I could. I controlled what I could to try and shift it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't effective. So the most effective thing I could do is then stop our working together because it wasn't working for him. It wasn't working for me. And it would not be aligned with my values if I kept doing that.
That's awesome. So I just want to commend you for having that integrity to basically throw away an easy $10,000 or whatever. The way you want to look at it, I don't want to say easy.
No, but you're right.
You get it was just that steady income.
Yeah, totally.
The integrity to walk away from that's huge. Mm-hmm. On another note, I want to give some value to our audience here. Sure. Like maybe some people are about to start a business and they're being told no, or like their friends and family members are saying you can't do this. Or maybe they're not even saying it, or maybe they're not going up to those people and mentioning it to it because they're too afraid to say that they have the dream of creating something. what's like 3 to 5 nuggets that are like actual physical ways that someone could go from an idea to a reality, to making their first sale or whatever it happens to be? What should they be thinking about doing? What do you got?
Sure. So the first thing I would encourage people to do is to talk about it. And it's okay to pick someone safe.
Okay.
Because the more you speak something into the world, the more accountable you will be to it, right? So think about, like, have you ever posted something on social media, like maybe when you announced your business or whatever, and you're like, oh shit, this is real. Like, I guess I got to do this now because I just like told the world about it.
Right.
Maybe not social media, but maybe maybe your partner, maybe your mom, like whoever it is, like you talked about it, and all of a sudden it made it that much more real.
Right.
So I would encourage you to do that as much as possible, because the more you speak that, the more you create it. Okay. So the more you say, like, hey, I was thinking about starting a business, to, hey, I'm starting a business, to, like, hey, I'm a business owner and this is what I do. Cool. Right? You can make that happen in a matter of minutes. Like, but did you see that, like, that evolution, right? Like, you just need to get out there and talk about who you want to become as if you've already became that. And it's okay to go to those people that it's safe. It's okay to start where it's safe. Yeah. Totally. But what I found, though, is that it's sometimes easier to do it to a stranger than it is with your circle of people that you already know. I think you're right. I think you got to be 100% right. I think that's so valuable. Because if I went to someone who didn't know me or know anything about what I've done in the past or whatever, they wouldn't have any. They probably are going to say, "Go for it." Cool. Yeah. Good for you. Awesome. High five. Yeah. Right. Definitely. Wow. I wish I knew that. 6 months ago. Yeah. That's awesome. I think a benefit for going to someone who maybe isn't safe is that they're going to tell you no, or maybe they're going to say yes and that's going to be a good thing, or they're going to tell you no and you're going to have an opportunity to handle objections for the first time, and overcoming them, or not overcoming them and then dealing with the questioning yourself and then powering through it. Right. But so that's just my take on it. What's the next step someone should take after they start speaking it into the universe? Or sure, whatever you say for that. Yeah. I would say consistency over frequency. So lots of times when people start out, they get obsessed with, like, I have to spend all day, like, doing all these things, but I also have a day job. So how am I going to manage this side hustle and this day job? It's impossible for me to, like, call customers every day or blog every day or whatever it is, right? Yeah. So instead of getting so freaked out that you can't quit your job today and go, like, full out on this thing, just be consistent with what you can do. Right. So if you can dedicate 2 hours a week to this new thing, this new company, whatever it is, then make sure you're being consistent in that. Right. If it's like Thursdays at 3 p.m., like, you do that. And when you sit down, you've got a plan. You do these same things, every time to start to build something out that's gaining some kind of traction. Whether that is lead generation by sending out emails or calling people and letting them know what you do, knocking door to door, right? Like, going and creating and posting content. Like, you need to be consistent. So don't obsess about the frequency, but just be consistent in what you are doing. Yeah. I'd love to piggyback on that and say that you should make it just as important as that job you have already. Because you wouldn't call out of that job, you wouldn't not show up. If you made that time, if you're scheduled at 4 o'clock on Thursday, you're going to be at that job. If you schedule yourself at 3 o'clock on Tuesday to sit there for an hour and do the work, you should have that same care and, I don't know, lack of words, but you get what I'm saying. You want to take that and do it, Right, totally. One thing to piggyback on your piggyback, I tell people to do it first. So whenever possible, do the business, do your dream thing, your side hustle, whatever, first. So if you have to work from 9 to 5, then you need to wake up at 6:30. And you need to work on it from 6:30 to 8:30. Yeah. Because you need to reprogram your mind to what is your first priority. Right. It's like money. You pay yourself first type of thing. Right. Oh, that's awesome. All
All right, so
Do you want me to keep going?
I do.
Okay.
So like we got.
I can go more on that.
This is. I think people are gonna ton of value.
Cool. Okay.
So they spoke it into the universe. They decided on time, day. I want to stick on this for one more second. It's like I started this company I started an Instagram account. I didn't even have a Facebook account. I started an Instagram account, and I decided I wanted to keep the color red. And I picked a name, and I decided I was going to post every day. Mm-hmm. That's all I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to sell anything or whatever, but the fact that I did that, and I did it every day, and I was just trying to figure out how to get more followers. Mm-hmm. And that was it. Mm-hmm. And then, but the fact that I took the time to do it. So I'm saying this works. Whatever she's saying, it works. I have proof that it works. But anyway, so you spoke it into the universe, you decide on consistent action, and you're doing it. Mm-hmm. Then what's the next step?
Measurement.
Okay.
So you need to figure out whatever systems, and this can be as basic as like a Google sheet, a spreadsheet. I mean, my gosh, even just like a document. Write it down with a pencil. Like, I don't care. Mm-hmm. But pick a metric and measure it every day, like as much as you can.
So what would that be for someone like something that any business could measure? Mm-hmm.
So if, for instance, the example you gave, it might be followers, or it might be post engagement, or it might be reach or something like that in that world, or it could be connections. This is my ultimate favorite metric, connections. I still measure this today.
I should measure it. I'm learning the value of a relationship now, and it is a relationship with the right person is unreal, the amount of value that's in that person. Mm-hmm. But so you can measure connections. You can,
and literally just like how many people did you connect with that week? And then you'll start to see the other indicators following, right? So connections, depends on what your business is, but it might be like proposals, or connections that lead to like real conversations, and then proposals, right? And then actual signed contracts, and then money in your bank account. So a lot of people want to measure the money. The money is a lag indicator. Do not measure the money. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
You're going to be sad. I'm just going to tell you, there are going to be days where you're going to be sad. Right. And that's a bummer because it's not even appropriate. Like, the best thing you could be tracking, and the thing you have total control over, how many connections did I make that week?
That's awesome. And it's not different people per se? Is it like a phone call, or is it... I would say personally that it's more valuable to get to a larger number of people and touch upon them once or twice a month or something like that, rather than call the same 5 people every day.
Yeah, don't do that. You're gonna run out of friends, and those connections will start to hate you. So don't do that. But everyone's business is a little different, and the nature of those connections is a little different. So I don't have hard and fast rules on that. But if you are picking up the phone, if you're inviting people, if you're talking to people on LinkedIn, if you are engaging with people, DMing them on social media, like, be talking to people.
And measure it.
And measure how many connections you did make, and start to see that follow through, like I described, those other things. Those numbers will go up too, and then ultimately it lands in your bank. Mm-hmm.
I see that a lot of like sales coaches will relate sales to dating. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get the date on the first interaction, and the date's not even what they consider a sale. You can use your imagination. But so with that being said, you're gonna want to go up and introduce yourself and have them know who you are, and then maybe see if like that alone is huge. It could be the first thing that you could measure is how many people know about me. Grant Cardone says, if they don't know you, they can't flow you, right? No one can buy from you if they don't know that you're something that can be bought, right?
Totally. You don't have something to offer them, right?
Right.
And then even further, like, don't go ask for it right away. Like, if you walked up and you asked for that, like,
you want to go out to dinner or whatever?
If you asked for that, what's it called, home base? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right away, like, you'd be like, oh my god, you'd be fights, right? You'd be arrested.
Right.
But what you do is you add value first.
Right.
Right. So being conscious about, don't sell to someone. Add value. Add value. Add value. Add value. Add value. Ask.
Right. Make them laugh. Gary V's the jab, right hook, right?
Yep.
See?
Yep.
And if you don't follow those people,
they're awesome.
They're great.
They're really great. Great personalities, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, entertaining.
You know the Todd Herman alter ego effect?
Yes, loosely.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, if I was to pick an alter ego, I'm like, okay, maybe it would be Grant Cardone because he's just so rambunctious. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, what just happened when you watch?
Yeah. All right, you got the next step. What's after measurement?
So I'm jumping around because I want to add total value. Like it's not on what. But the last thing I want to offer on this, like what are the things people can do when they're just starting, is reflection.
Okay.
So you wake up, right? The first thing you do is work on your business, like we talked about, right? Then you are measuring what you're doing, right? Yep. Well, first we're speaking it into the world. Then we're actually doing it by waking up in the morning and doing it. Then we're measuring it, right? You need to reflect. Yeah. Because it's great if you have all this stuff. If you don't take the time to like stop and take a breath and then look at it, like up on the wall, I have those giant Post-it things and I love to like write on them and like put them up on the wall and just like look at them for a while. I do this with clients too, and especially when they come in for like a VIP day, like a 6-hour long thing. And we've got like those Post-its everywhere. But it really helps you synthesize this information, and there's a lot of neuroscience on this. Number one, to actually write something down, it really like solidifies it. But when you stop and reflect on something, it actually helps your brain process it and to come up with like what the next steps are. It becomes so much clearer than when you're just like running all the time, going 60 miles an hour and trying to figure out what to do. That's not nearly as effective. So. Yeah.
I want to be cognizant of your time. I have a bunch of questions. I have some rapid questions that will only take a couple minutes. You think I have time for like one or two more?
Of course, yeah.
Questions? Okay. Are there any reasons why someone doesn't need a coach or shouldn't hire a coach?
Totally.
What are those?
If you know all the answers.
Okay, so no one.
If you're a know-it-all,
yeah,
and you're not good at taking feedback, don't hire a coach.
Okay. That's pretty good answer.
Well, sure. That seems like, well, duh.
Right.
But there's a lot of people who, especially successful entrepreneurs who have already had success. I don't know why I sign up for the most challenging people, but I love working with people who have already had like a decent level of success because they're not like totally green to all of this, but it does come with a little bit of an ego.
I bet.
And hey, good for them. Like a lot of these people have made way more money than I have. Like good for them. But sometimes that comes with a little bit of challenge in taking critical feedback. Well, like I say right in my website, like I am not for the, easily offended. You're going to pay me to tell you things that aren't going to feel good, like when they come out. And I say this is also why I force people to sign up for at least 6 months, because I need to be able to say the thing that doesn't feel good, but you need to come back next week. Exactly. So it buys me a little bit of safety, to be able to say the things that people really need to hear, because they're the ones who came to me saying, hey, I want to grow. But that is sometimes challenging.
Right. I think that there's definitely a correlation between, business coaching, physical coaching, physical training, sports, all that.
Yeah, definitely.
I can see that for sure. Let's see, I'm trying to find the best questions that can bring value to other people. Okay, if this specific person, they're sitting out here, they're in their 20s, they know or they're in high school, they know they want to own a business, they have that entrepreneurial spirit, and but they don't know what they want to do yet. What's your advice to that person?
Action. Take action.
Try things, taste tests.
Try everything.
Okay.
Try everything. Because you are going to learn so much along the way, no matter what it is that you do.
Should they fear getting stuck at like a dead-end job that they tried for a little bit, or should they be quitting after 6 months? Or
the only way you'd be stuck in a dead-end job is if you didn't take action
to get out of it. Right, makes sense.
So take action. Always just be taking action, because like a lot of people, they have like this fog, right? Like I don't know where to go next. It's unclear for me. Well, the only way to get through the fog is to like run straight towards it. And then guess what? It clears up 3 more feet. And then guess what? It clears up 3 more feet. And that's how you get through the fog. Not just by sitting there like
nice
talking
analogy.
about fog. Right?
That's a great analogy. I love it.
It's true.
It's very true. Let's wrap things up.
Well, can I end with this too?
Yeah.
So another, gotta give credit to Gary Vee. He says there are no mistakes before age 30, only experiences.
Love that.
So good, right?
Right.
It's so true. And like being older than 30, I can really speak to that. I've heard so many people just in crisis over like what to do in college or like what career to pursue. It's like, it doesn't even matter. Like just do something. As long as you're doing something and you're not playing Fortnite all day. But there's lessons to be learned on Fortnite too,
sure.
I guess. I don't know. But you just, as long as you're taking action, perpetual motion. Right?
That's why I came up with it. Consistency is better than doing the... Like, you can't brush your teeth for 30 minutes one day and have it work for the whole entire week.
Good point.
You know?
Yeah. Right. So just action, and there's no mistakes, just experiences.
That's it. If your business went to zero tomorrow, would you look at your business and reflect on it as a failure or an accomplishment?
Well, I guess it would depend on why it went to zero, but
I want to say you did something wrong, and you were the sole cause, which I think is the only way it would go to zero.
Yeah.
That's it. No, there was no outside
yeah.
like health crisis
COVID or no pandemics.
Right.
I mean, so it's only natural that it would feel like a total failure.
You think so?
I think it would feel like that. I think in reflection, which is why reflection is so important, you would be able to pull out all the valuable things that you actually got from it. Right. Which you might be able to see the isolated successes and achievements in that. Mm-hmm. But I think it's only natural that you would experience that first and foremost as a failure.
Right. I can see that. I just thought about it so much that I'm like, my business went to zero. I would think about it as like a roller coaster ride. Is like I get off of it and I'm like, that was so much fun. Yeah. Let's go do another one. You know, like what's the next roller coaster I can get on? You know.
I think you might feel differently if it were like 12 years.
Oh, you're right.
Right.
That's a good point. It's great. We're at 6 months. I got a little baby.
Yeah. Right. So if you had invested 20 years in it, and then it went to zero, you might not be like, that was a fun roller coaster. You might be like, holy shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I think about these big corporations that have been going out of business and stuff. I'm like, I'm like, wonder, do these board members care? Like, how do they feel? We don't have those answers, but
yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah. But I wonder about that. Yeah. I want to ask this is my wrap-up questions now. I'm going to take it. You know, Lewis Howes' School of Greatness. Yeah. He asked like the 3 truths and stuff, so I'm trying to come up with my own.
Okay.
So that you're the first person doing it. So I want to ask people that. What do they think about the business going to zero, or would it be an accomplishment or a failure? And then what is your definition of success?
I think that success is living life your way.
I like that.
And I think that in today's day and age, it is so hard to do because we are just flooded with examples of how everybody else is doing life.
Right.
And it just further reinforces that cycle of like, no, I'm supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z. Everybody else is doing that. Everybody else tells me that's what I'm supposed to be doing, or that's what success is. Mm-hmm. And I think like only the brave are going to be willing to live life their way.
Right. And it's odd because there's so much opportunity to live your life your way. Yeah.
Right, but again, like the people who are in their 20s coming to me being like scared of life, it's because they're afraid to do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. And this idea that you could do life wrong is like kind of wild. But that messaging came from somewhere, and that's happening to people of this current generation, right? And that's because of the messaging that's out there right now. So I feel like more than ever, this is so important to talk about the concept of like living a life exactly how you want to.
Yeah. So if you can say it again, I love that one sentence.
Living life your way.
Yeah. So success is living life your way.
Success is living life your way.
We're gonna quote that and put your little signature
Ooh,
next
yes,
to it?
do it.
I love it. That's
Okay.
awesome. So thank you so much for being on here. I'm going to work on getting an outro and intro for the recording here, but it was a great time talking to you, and I hope we brought a whole bunch of value to people, and people are going to want to reach out to you and see. That's the other question. If someone wanted a 15-minute phone call with them, are you going to charge them? Or can
No
they reach out to
way.
you
No. Everybody should call.
Okay.
Because I promise to deliver you the cold hard truth.
Okay.
And we'll figure out, like, if coaching is right for you, then I'm going to offer you the free consultation for 2 hours.
Right.
You know, if we talk for a little bit and decide, like, that's right for you right now. So,
Okay.
again, action is the only way.
Awesome.
So.
And where do they follow you? Where are people going to get in touch with you?
They can find me lots of places. So my website, BrittanyDrozd.com.
Mm-hmm.
My email, Brittany@BrittanyDrozd.com. My phone number's on my website. I'm on Instagram at Britt Drozd. You can find my Facebook page, Brittany Drozd.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on LinkedIn, YouTube channel. Is that enough?
No, this is good. So you can message her, call her, leave her a message. She'll get back to you.
You can Google me. You'll find me.
That's it. That's someone that you want in your corner. Thank you so much again.
Yeah.